And welcome back to another Startup Junkies podcast. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching, listening, however you're reaching us today. We appreciate it. Be sure to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff to catch up with the Startup Junkies podcast and crew weekly. We appreciate it. I am Davis McEntire, podcast producer, joined by co-host Caleb Talley. Jeff Amerine, how you guys doing?
Great. Glad to be here.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is. We had some cold weather. Spring is here.
The Hogs are kicking ass on the court, and we couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, can't complain.
They're going to go deep into the tournament this year.
I think so.
Prediction. That's a prediction.
You heard it here first.
Heard it here first.
And if it's wrong, well, sorry.
Yeah, place your bets.
Exactly.
Insider info right here. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest for today, Phil Shellhammer. He's got a lot of titles. He's director of the Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program here at the University of Arkansas. He's co-founder and CEO of Eksplor Gaming, and he is also president of Wize Computing Academy. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well.
Thanks.
Glad you could join us. So give us a little bit of the background story, the origin.
The origin story of Phil. Grew up in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Grew up in a small town in the middle of nowhere. Dad was a teacher. Good at math and science, went to University of Cincinnati in engineering. So mechanical engineer undergrad, and kind of built a 20-year boring corporate career. Probably shouldn't have said that. That's right. It was kind of a boring corporate career.
Accomplished. Right?
Yeah, it was a good corporate career. It was traditional, right? So 5 years at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati there as an engineer working for him. Went and got my MBA up in Boston. And then spent 5 years.
At the Harvard Business School.
At the Harvard Business School.
He's so humble. It's like it wasn't just an online degree program. You didn't mail it in. It was the HBS, right?
It was a good couple of years up there. I enjoyed that time. So I went up there, and then I spent 5 years at Best Buy, and the last 10 years down here at Sam's Club. And somewhere in there, I got married to my wife of 25 years and had 3 kids, and all of us live here in Springdale now. So.
Awesome. How do you like Northwest Arkansas compared to all the, you've been around the map?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. When I first moved here, it was turning to my wife and going, give me 5 years. Let me check the box on Walmart. We'll get back out of Dodge, right? It's Arkansas. We have no idea about anything. That was 2009. When I left Sam's 2019, there was no way we were leaving. Mm-hmm. Like, we love it here. You can't beat the quality of life. You can't beat the opportunities that are here. The large town opportunities with the small town feel, all of that, right? You guys know this stuff. And this is a great place to live. So our family's here for good for the long time. We love it here.
Mm-hmm. Talk about what you're doing with the new program at the U of A, the GORP program. Talk about that.
So the Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program, which we'll call GORP from here going forward because it's way easier to say.
And it's just cool, right?
It's just a cool name, yeah. So good old raisins and peanuts, that's where GORP comes from. So the greenhouse itself was built as a location of multiple incubators, right? And our goal was, can we start to support, as a university, the community in startups that they want to build, and can we take the tools and the capabilities we have to help support that in a meaningful way? The first one that got funded was the Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program. So GORP was started. I was hired almost 4 months ago today, a little over 4 months ago, to build out an incubator. So how do we start and help people from the very beginning of building a business, specifically in outdoor recreation? Right? Mm-hmm. How do we help them think about what the real problem is, who the real customers are, whether their solution or how their solution fits into it, and then the individual stages of business planning and modeling out, evaluation of your problem, prototyping, MVP, whatever that might be, all the way to launch. And that's our goal. Our goal is to help people be more successful in starting their businesses in outdoor rec.
Why outdoor recreation? I mean, most of the accelerators tend to go towards really high tech, SaaS-based stuff. What's the magic around outdoor recreation?
Yeah, I think it's this community, right? So what Northwest Arkansas and Arkansas as a whole is really embracing is the opportunities that come from a strong outdoor rec community, right? One of them could be from an economic development standpoint, right? There's just a ton of tourism that comes into our state for these activities and for just the natural resources that we have here. But there's the quality of life living too. I mean, one of the reasons why the Shellhammer stayed here
Right.
because of the outdoor rec that's available here,
Sure.
right? And literally at our back door, we can hop on a trail and ride wherever we want to, or
Miles and miles and miles of soft surface trails
All over, right?
And the whole bit. And it's
Absolutely.
world class. I mean, I think we put the stake in the ground to say this is the mountain biking capital of the world.
yeah. And
We're kind of growing into that, but it's really I think we're getting close.
we're absolutely getting close. I've heard it said a couple different ways. Maybe we're the mountain biking capital of the world for families for sure, right? Because we have all the options for people to come as a whole group to come and ride, and you have different trail options for whatever your skill set is. But we're bigger than just cycling, and they're really clear when they brought me in for GORP. They said this isn't a cycling play. This is outdoor recreation. Right now, maybe I won't do a whole lot of work around snow sports, but camping, hiking, climbing is probably the next cycling in this area. Hunting, fishing, kayaking, water sports, all that stuff, right? All those activities that we know and love here within Arkansas become the activities that we focus on. So although cycling is the big one that everyone points to in Northwest Arkansas, I think our whole region can claim world class in a lot of different activities. And people come from all around the world. You really come here and enjoy this activity. Therefore, because we have that, then we know we have people here that are passionate about it and that would have ideas or problems to solve within it.
So why not build the startup ecosystem around it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, that makes world of sense.
Yep.
And we've talked about it on the podcast before, but Arkansas has probably some of the best natural resources when it comes to just outdoor beauty and
No question.
Availability and access in the country. And it's just through opportunities like this to kind of build on-ramps for people to get in to outdoor recreation in some form.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and the state continues to back it and push it in a meaningful way, right? They just hired the director of outdoor recreation in Catherine Anders, and they're really making a large continued effort around this piece. I mean, obviously, it's a passion point for the Walton family as well, and so you see a lot of their effort and investment going into it too. That's where our grant came from to pay for this.
Sure.
Right, but collectively, you can see the state getting behind it in a bigger way as we see the opportunities for economic development and just regional growth.
Opportunity to build a cluster or a center of excellence around something that's not directly tied to retail, supply chain, ag. That's complementary, that's supportive, but it's another area where we can build depth and breadth that would differentiate.
That's right.
We're a work, live, play type of atmosphere that we want to have.
A couple days ago, we were at the governor's conference on tourism, and we were talking about that exact piece, right? You have the work that's been done over the last, 10, 15 years to build tourism around cycling and around mountain biking in this area for sure, right? So we did all that work. Now you have so much activity here, so much interest, so many people coming. You have people coming here to stay, people coming here to live, professional mountain bikers coming, and people who know that, they work remotely, but they want to ride in their free time, and you can do this 12 months out of the year, right? And so because people are coming, you get from the tourism piece, you build the economic or the entrepreneurship ring of activity, because the ones that are coming here, moving here now are the experts. They're the ones that recognize there's problems to still be solved, and so we think we play in that space of, okay, now we've got the experts coming to us and saying, I got a problem I want to solve. I have a solution I think it's worth it. Can you help me? And if the university and through GORP can help them do that, then the next stage of that hopefully is then those businesses get built here and they would create the cluster, right? That hub of activity that now becomes, we have an entire, activity hub wrapped around this industry.
Are there any others in the world that are focused on building businesses, scalable ventures around outdoor recreation?
Yeah, there's few, right?
So where are they growing up? Just out of curiosity, we got to know who we need to beat, right?
Yeah.
Who's the Kentucky and
who are
Auburn
we
that we
beating?
need to stomp on in the future in outdoor recreation?
Well, so you got to think of the hotbeds that you would typically recognize, right? So Colorado for sure. There's a program called Ice Lab out of Western Colorado there. They do a ton of great work in support of outdoor rec founders and trying to help an accelerator program that's built out of there. It's actually sponsored by Moose Jaw. So that program's been built up for a while. There's one, I'm going to blank on the name. There's one in Utah that I'm just not remembering the name of right now. And then you can see on the East Coast side, Western Carolina. There's a lot of effort
That makes
around
sense. Around Asheville.
That's right.
Area.
Yeah,
that
around
makes a
that
lot of
area as
sense.
well. So.
But I mean, there's no reason why there can't be bridge building to those other programs.
None
either,
at all.
Just because this is still kind of a nascent thought process around doing the things that have been done around tech around this kind of vertical.
That's right.
I mean, to call it a vertical is probably not even correct, really, but around this kind of focus. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
And when you and I had spoken about this previously, but you were talking about the kind of people and the kind of founders that you were trying to bring in, and I got the impression that you weren't just specifically looking for people that had a fully launched business generating revenue. You're looking for people that might even be doing something full time already, but recognize, to your point, they are the experts because they are actively in. They're the users, the outdoor enthusiasts. They recognize those problems, and you're trying to pull them into that environment and atmosphere and ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, what's great about this industry is there's so many people have a passion point for it. So it's easy for people to want to jump in and help them, want to be a part of it because it's outdoor rec, and everyone loves doing this in their outdoor in their free time, right? So this becomes a free time project. Everybody, is that fair to say? Yeah, I think all 4 of our cohort companies right now, they all have day jobs. They all have other ways they're making income. This is early stage. This is idea to launch. So none of them, one company's, they're making minuscule revenue right now. It's small, right? But they're starting to build. And so at these early stages, they have to have some other way to make income, but this gives them a chance to kind of think about this on the side and build from the side. We think at some point we can start building entrepreneurs just out of passion, right? If I can get the right passionate people in a room and just have them talking about where the biggest problems are, a startup weekend kind of model like we've done here, right? Then you can actually build entrepreneurs out of that otherwise might not have dipped their toe. And they create little side gig businesses until it's a legitimate business.
It's a great idea. We need to have a startup weekend that's focused on outdoor rec.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be a ton of fun.
I think that would be a big draw. That'd be great for sure.
Take the note.
Keep up to date on the latest news in economic development with the Arkansas Economic Development Commission's Arkansas Inc. newsletter. Each month, get the Arkansas Inc. newsletter, which spotlights the latest project wins and developments throughout the state, delivered to your email. The newsletter features major project announcements, company expansions and relocations, news articles, rankings, and more that highlight why Arkansas is a great state to do business. The newsletter is a snapshot of what AEDC has been working on and what we are following. The Quarterly Tech Trends newsletter highlights the latest news in Arkansas's growing tech sector. You can learn about new Arkansas tech companies, computer science and cybersecurity initiatives, funding and venture capital announcements, and even more. AEDC offers 4 quarterly newsletters: the Food and Beverage Industry Digest, Aerospace and Defense Beacon, Timber Trends, and Tech Trends. To learn more or sign up for a newsletter, visit arkansasedc.com/news.
So is it like, is it kind of like follow a model of like an accelerator program where you have like months, weeks long worth of content and education, and then they kind of graduate into, can you touch on that?
Yeah. We like to say GORP runs 2 different programs. Right? So we have an a la carte version, right? And so whenever you need us, however you need us, you come and ask, right? In consulting, we'll have workshops and training, ways that people can plug into GORP throughout the year. And so we provide that for anybody to come. And we've had quite a few already come through our desk just asking for, hey, I've got an idea. I'm at this early stage, or is this even a good idea, right? Those kind of questions. So we can start to give them the tools and the support, similar to exactly what you guys do. Startup Junkie, right? Right. Become that top of the funnel of helping people get into outdoor rec for the first time. But then the second version of GORP is really that cohort-based program. And so 2 times a year, we're planning on having a more intensive 12-week incubator. That's what we're in the process of right now. Right? And this is 12 weeks of, we asked them to give us an evening, right? And so we have a couple of classes, a couple of workshops to go through each week in that evening. So we have that piece for them each time. And then we add to that team-based mentorship, which in accelerator and incubator programs are usually the most strong point. And we got some great mentors for this first group. And a lot of people are interested in jumping in and helping for sure. Again, because outdoor rec is kind of fun, right? So we got great mentors. We also, from the university, we have the venture intern program. And so because we have the venture intern program, we can plug interns into these companies. So we had hired the interns actually before we had even found the companies yet, and said, just trust me, it's going to be a great internship. I just don't know what you're going to do or who the company's going to be or what your project's going to be. But if you trust me, it's going to be fun.
That sound familiar, Davis?
Yeah, me coming in here.
Take a trust me card.
It's going to be okay. It'll be all right. But it's worked out great. And so we can provide the interns as a free resource to the companies. And then we just try and add on as much as we can possibly into this incubator piece, including one of the biggest pieces, which is a financial incentive, right? Yeah. We give up to $15,000 of non-dilutive funding for these companies, which for a lot of them is the first big chunk of anything to help them get from idea to where they're going.
Yeah, just imagining like somebody that's got some side project that they've been passionate about, and to go from tinkering with that in the garage to having access to those resources, those mentors, and in turn potential for cash. I mean, it's definition accelerate from where they are to where they are going.
Which means most of the time, I've done one. But this first one, like most of the companies that made it through the application process were in the later stage of, right? So they're not at idea. I think this might be an idea I've never talked to anybody about before. They're more at the stage of, ideas there. I can feel, here's the market data that proves it. Here's the business model I think is going to be right, even though it might not be right. That's where they think they're going. And they have some kind of prototyping testing that they've thought through. And then we can help them kind of get the rest of the stage. So the cohort becomes kind of that later stage part of idea to launch in hopes that we can accelerate their preparation for and give them the best chance of success when they actually do launch their businesses.
Do you think at some point as this grows that folks like Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Cabela's become really interested in taking some kind of role or participating?
I would absolutely hope so.
It would seem like it. I mean, they are the masters at outdoor retail theater in many ways, and a lot of mind share there. You would think that they would be somebody that would be very interested.
And it's not like there's some like off on some coast. They're like right in the backyard.
Right,
basically.
they're in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Johnny, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are, please contact Phil because he'd love to have you involved in the program.
Absolutely. But I think what's important to talk about there is, you think about the retail side of things, which is going to be more on the product side, right? We think of all the different potential types of businesses that could fall into here. So there's definitely products, right? Stuff sold at Bass Pro or REI, right? But there's also the services side, which is more of the how do you use stuff sold at REI, which oftentimes turns into more small business. Those are mom and pop shops and tourist locations for us, right? The company that's with us right now in that kind of model is a bike rental company.
Right.
And they're renting e-bikes and mountain bikes. They have a great model and they're really figuring it out, but they're in our cohort right now because we want to support that smaller service business. And then of course you have this maybe enhancements to your experience of using stuff sold at Bass Pro and REI, right? And in those cases, it's probably, most times it's digital experiences, right? And so how do you think about the digital solutions that then again help enhance and drive that?
They make guide-oriented, experience-oriented businesses even better.
Yes.
So I mean that kind of stuff.
Yep, definitely.
Very interesting. So, how about we switch gears?
Okay.
Because you're a man with a big and broad portfolio, a serial entrepreneur. Talk about some of the other stuff that you have going outside of GORP.
So GORP's my main focus, right? That takes up a bigger chunk of the time.
120% of your time.
Thank you for saying that. So, Sarah, if you're listening. So that's definitely the biggest focus. But there's pieces that I've been able to continue moving forward in Eksplor and Wize, right? There's two things I did. So when I left Sam's in 2019, I remember coming to your desk actually sitting there going, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. What do I do? Like I got ideas, like I got problems I want to solve, and I got a co-founder who's interested in trying to solve them with me, and we want to figure it out. And so literally what I'm getting to do with companies is what you did with me 3 years ago and said, well, this is where we'd start, right? And we talk about lean canvas, we talk about these tools. So that's what we did. And so I left that and started down a journey of I want to build a solution that I think is valuable to the community and add some kind of benefit and goodness in the world and solve the problem I thought was really important. And the problem we wanted to solve eventually, after going through a bunch of different models, was we eventually called the Eksplor. You talked about it before. So Eksplor it's an app that's designed to gamify travel destinations. Our goal is that if you went to a museum like Crystal Bridges, we would rather you play a game through the experience. To learn about the imagery or the artists or what's going on than just walking through and reading. We just think it's a better experience, especially for certain generations.
Sure.
And so that's what we built. And over the course of a couple of years of a very interesting COVID time, where travel destinations were shut down for quite a while, and we had to shift. We learned the word pivot. We used it quite a bit as we were building that piece out. But we've got a good sustainable model now where any location can come onto our site, build basically a trivia or a scavenger hunt like game, push a publish button, and 5 minutes later it's on their phone, and they could have a published game there to use. That's totally free right now. We just let it out there, and we're letting people kind of play with that for a while, with the hope that eventually you can need to build value into that for locations and make that a legitimate option.
Really cool.
Yeah, no, that was a fun venture. We didn't do anything right. We did a lot of things wrong, but we learned, and I learned so much. And what I learned the most, which is what got me pushing towards doing a role like this, is how much I enjoyed that super early stage of trying to figure it out. Right, the customer discovery, what are the biggest problems that need to be solved here, the shift that we made because we started talking to customers who we thought would use the app first, right, and learning from them and go, okay, we got the best solution, and then we got into iFund. We got into the iFund program, and they said, go talk to your customers. You need to talk to museums and locations. So we started talking to them, and their problems were totally different. Right? And like, oh crap, we didn't solve that one. We need to go solve this one instead. And so, how do you start thinking through that? That as we went through that process, my brain just lit up around the joy of kind of figuring those pieces out. And so it became kind of a catalyst to pushing me.
And customer discovery is such a big part of it.
Such a big
Did
piece.
you want to build any kind of venture that's going to have any kind of life? Figuring out without confirmation bias how to find out what the real demand is, what that real unmet need is, and how to deliver it's critically important.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is you can never really learn enough about it. And I've been doing this in some form or another for more than 20 years. And still, I find things. I'm going through the National Science Foundation I-Corps program with a team, and you find new perspectives and new ways of doing it better because you have to be almost like a sneaky investigator. Yeah. You have to sneak up on people and situations in a way that they don't realize that they're giving you the information you need. And it's not to be deceitful. It's just that's the only way you can get something that's truly unbiased. Yeah. So I think being an operator and coming into the role that you're in has got to be immensely helpful with GORP, right? Because you've walked in the shoes of those people that you're taking through the program.
Yeah, instead of the theoretical, here's how you do customer discovery, read this book and let's talk about it, I get to give them the real example.
Here's all the things I did wrong,
here's
right?
Exactly what I did.
Don't ever do this.
Don't do this one and do it this way instead. But that conversation becomes much rich because I've got really great examples. I mean, you remember when I was trying to figure out laundry, like I wanted to solve laundry. I just thought it was the biggest problem ever. I hated it, wanted to solve it in some way. And so, but I've got great examples of what I learned and how I would shift this business model that we never went down the path of around laundry because I learned from talking to people. And I learned in a way that didn't bias them, and it wasn't just my friends, and it was truly understanding where the real problems are. And you can, the value of the lean canvas tool and customer discovery and the tools we use in GORP and you guys use in Startup Junkie and that we help entrepreneurs figure out, the value of those tools struck me in such a meaningful way as an entrepreneur. I would have loved to have them for the last 20 years in my corporate career because those tools are so valuable wherever you go, even into roles, like leading pricing at Sam's. Yeah, I could have used that a ton.
It translates, right? It really translates because it forces you not to believe your own BS. Yeah. You have to get out of the building and you have to figure out, follow the data, is this data real? Is it something that I truly have conviction around because I've come to it without trying to bias the questions in a way to get the answer that I hope for. Yeah. And that's really interesting to hear how well you've applied that at GORP as well.
And we're trying to use the exact same tools for GORP itself.
Sure.
Right? So you want the exact same
Figure
tools,
out what
right?
to do next, right?
Exactly. Yeah. How many people can I put in front of me that I can ask questions to truly understand where they're at in their process? And can I then apply that back to the next 10 that I learned from or the next 10 that need the help?
Do you see it growing from early stage incubation to later stage accelerator? Do you see venture studio models in there? I know this is early days, but if you were to map out where does the outdoor program in particular go, what are the other pieces you think you'll add?
Wow.
I'm glad I could put you on the spot.
A little bit, right? So I'm still building that deck, so I haven't finished that one yet. But I think what I would say is we got to get incubation right really well.
Sure.
Right? And what's going to be interesting because of the greenhouse program as a whole, we're going to learn from GORP. We're going to build tools and processes and procedures, make that replicable, and then apply that to other industries. So I think the first stretch goes from 1 to 3 in the greenhouse and using the tools and applying them across. So great, we can apply those across multiple incubators. GORP specifically then says, what kind of impact can we have? Should we increase the number of companies coming through? Yeah, probably. And if we can get the funding and make that work, then we could bring in more companies each time versus the 4 we started with this time. That'd be great. How much more could we impact across the state, right? How much more could we take the model we're doing here and apply it to other other areas within our state to help them think through how to make this model work. So that's an interesting play. But then, do we continue into kind of the accelerator piece? I think it's I don't know, maybe, right? You can see where incubators, really strong incubators across the country, right, have built other pieces of the puzzle to kind of put it all together. I think it'd be super interesting to see where that could go. The challenge with that for us, I think, is because we're not as focused with the type of business, right? And we're as welcoming of a mom and pop shop that wants to learn and build a one-off model that works just in Bentonville and that's it.
Sure.
As we are as a digital solution.
It's
that can
not all
work
about
nationally.
scalable ventures.
That's right.
So
because it's
some of the
not-
later stage model doesn't make sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It may not make sense. Or you split GORP and you say this one is going to be supported of the mom and pop, and we'll make sure we make that really strong because there are individual needs they need. Right. But then over here we want to make the scalable models work too, and then we can give them more of the meat they need to be able to scale.
Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I know it's early days, like we've said, but what is that split? Like, how many people do you see that are coming through GORP that want to scale into a national business versus, I just want to be able to service the community of Bentonville with a, bike rental company?
Yeah. Boy, percentage-wise, I would probably say I'm probably heavier into conversations that would be scalable. But scalable businesses can be D2C, one-off products, right? That they've figured out a solution to a particular problem in this activity, and they want to put it online and be able to sell it, nationally, globally, in the cases. That's a very scalable business, but would work very much out of just Northwest Arkansas, right? So I think it's probably a little bit heavier scalable, but there are plenty of people that have come through us saying, I've got this idea. I think it would work right here in Bentonville. Here's the spot on the corner it would be, or here's how we would reach. Right, so there's plenty of the desire and the need there to be able to do that. And what's interesting is there's some of them haven't even come to us yet because some of the more scalable stuff might come through you guys that would be happen to be outdoor rec related, but you have the same tools and stuff. And some of the more small business stuff is running through an ASB TDC, and they do phenomenal support for them.
Yeah.
Right? I've said this multiple times. There's no reason GORP should recreate any of the wheels that are already created in this area. The entrepreneurship community is so strong. All I want to do is help where outdoor recreation makes a ton of sense, and then apply the tools that are already available to helping connect our entrepreneurs to who can help them the best. We just want to see them succeed.
So what's next? You mentioned climbing as being like the next biking. If you look ahead, however many years, what are we the next capital of the world?
Oh, that's interesting. So, I said climbing's next biking. I think I believe it, but it's Phil's opinion. So we'll see where it goes. But there's so much activity. There's so much growth coming in climbing, right? Just as a sport as a whole. And if you add to that we basically have the best routes between the Appalachians and the Rockies. And so everybody in the middle of the U.S. would be coming here to do any kind of world-class climbing. And what's already happening over in Horseshoe and other places, right? That seems like the one that's going to get the best kind of push forward. But we have world-class fly fishing, right? We have spectacular floating along the Buffalo, right? And we have kayaking,
too.
right?
Yeah,
Those kind of sports.
absolutely.
Camping and hiking are obviously very strong in here. And there's a massive hunting community within this area too, right? There's a whole lot of we're really good at. One of the things you might actually consider is maybe we can't honestly say we're the world's best this, right? But we sure could be the world's best multi-sport, right? There's hardly anywhere else you can go where you can leave Thaden Field in the morning on your plane, fly into a grass field along the White River, put a tent underneath your wing, fly fish in the morning, ride your bike in the afternoon, maybe climb the next morning and fly back. That's a weekend in Arkansas. It's hard to find places anywhere else in the globe.
That's really
That's
true.
very well
kind of
put.
weekend
Yeah,
experience.
very well
That's really
put.
true.
Yeah, I gravitate towards the sports where I can sit in a canoe or a raft.
Yeah.
Sit on
The sitting
bank
sports,
of
yeah.
some body of water with a fishing pole.
Let
kind of
gravity be your
ignored.
friend, right?
Exactly. As long as the raft can fit a cooler.
Absolutely.
It's my kind of sport.
Absolutely. It's a sport. We'll give it to you. It's outdoor rec sitting. It's
exactly.
fine.
Well, I know we touched on, just out of curiosity, I know we touched on, Bass Pro and potentially having a role in GORP, but you also have these companies such as like Max Prairie Wings down in Southeast Arkansas, big into hunting, fishing. Are Are there any, you see potential partnership there, or maybe there are other companies I'm unaware of kind of like that?
Yeah. So to be clear, like we don't have any company sponsorships. Nobody's going to do us right now, right?
No, of course.
But if we think of the growth and the potential of growth, right, we'll have to figure out what the right model is to be able to support that financially. We believe that we've got to have experts feeding into these companies, right? You can't do this stuff alone. You guys know this, right? To go off and try and figure this stuff out and build it on yourself is too hard. You need people wrapped around you that can help support, that have gone through it before, that know the expertise. So we want to grab everybody we can from a mentor standpoint. We want to grab people who can sit there and stand in front of our group and say, this is what I went through to get from here to here. Tomorrow night or I shouldn't time base this because this will be
No, it doesn't matter.
But, okay, so tomorrow night this time we'll have the president of Eddie Line Kayaks who just got investment from RZC. Right, he's in town, and so he's going to come talk to the cohort, and he's going to talk about his experiences. He didn't start the company from scratch; he bought it as a management buyout with the group. But he's going to come and give his experiences of working outdoor recreation, where we can find those experts that have done it, people who've worked through the industry, people who know the industry really well. We want to bring them into the fold in some way or another. If it's mentorship, if it's doing a workshop, if it's training, we think that's where the secret sauce is for the industry-specific stuff, right? Because accounting skills and marketing skills are pretty applicable across, right? But when you get into this is about outdoor recreation, we got to find those experts.
Right.
So to your point, hey, let the companies come and talk to us because we want them involved in some way because they have the expertise of what it's been.
Well,
like.
that's really how you compress time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you compress time for that entrepreneurial journey when you have people that have done it, so that the possibility of repeating the same mistakes is reduced.
No doubt.
It makes a big difference.
And that's why when you talk to people who've gone through accelerators and incubators in the past, they almost always say it's the mentor team, right? The best thing I got out of that was a mentor group, right? And then that's the success of the incubators. Can you put together a strong mentor team for each of these companies? And I won't get the list here, but I got phenomenal mentors for this first group. I was just so excited about the people that are there working and helping these companies on a week-to-week basis. They're donating their time, just sitting there going, we can help, here's how we can. And they've got these great experiences that are really, like you said, they're accelerating the time frame of learning. Right? You don't have to go learn these pieces. I've already told you that's wrong. This is where it's going to help you, and they can help.
It is kind of rare, but in this area, we have people that have actually built and exited ventures in outdoor recreation, outdoor apparel, et cetera. And it's amazing the number of people that we have around here who have actually done that and done it well. So it just seems like all the pieces are coming together the right way.
Yep. And we have some that are still in their event. They're in their path, right? They're 3 or 4 years in. It's super exciting to talk to them. You're like, I wish this was around when I started. But they then turn around and say, how can I help? And they jump in and they want to be a speaker. They want to help with mentoring. They're a part of it because they know that the next group coming behind them needs that help.
It's another thing that's in the DNA here locally.
No
question.
That's unique.
It is unique.
There's no doubt that's why I wanted to do this particular work, is because you could see the entrepreneurship community here is so strong and continue to be invested in, and it's going to be a priority for this community as a whole. And so this is where there's opportunity to be a part of something special and something that's being grown and something that's unique. Or in my case, I get to be a part of a whole bunch of different versions of something special as individual companies are coming through.
Absolutely.
Caleb, it's time to stick the landing.
The landing question. So the last question we ask our guests is, if you had the opportunity to go back in time, whether this be before you moved to Northwest Arkansas, before you started your, corporate career, just whatever piece and part in time, knowing what you know now, the experiences you've gained, everything you've learned, what sort of advice might you give your younger self?
Well, you always think back and there's probably a lot, right? I wish I'd have, did this differently with my kids, or I wish I'd have handled this. But in this particular space, probably my biggest, if you want to call it a regret, is that I didn't dip my toes sooner into entrepreneurship, right? I had an opportunity before I came to Sam's Club where I had some time off between jobs, right? I'd taken a buyout opportunity and I kind of I played golf. I played golf for like 6 months. It was great, right? But I had a ton of time, and I could have spent that time kind of dipping my toe in that piece. Even after I got here, I could have figured out that I have problems I want to solve. I had groups of friends that I would get around just to talk about business ideas because I thought it was fun, right? Well, if I'd have just picked one of those, even if it wouldn't have been a good idea, and learned a lot of the tools I'm learning or have been learning the last few years back then, how much stronger would I be now in Eksplor? How much stronger would I be to help the companies that are here? How much stronger would I be for the next venture, whatever that's going to look like? So for me, I would have loved to step in this way sooner.
Yeah,
Good advice.
Makes sense.
great
to me,
advice.
just based on what you said earlier, and having in 2019 at Jeff's desk, and then how far you've come now, just would have compounded.
Yeah, no doubt.
Where can our worldwide listeners in over 100 countries find out more about you and more about GORP? What's the best way for them to get in touch?
The best way to start with us is at our website. So GORP, GORP.uark.edu is our website. And there you can join the community, which everyone should just join, right? You sign up, you put your email address in and tell us you're interested in us in some way. And then as we have events and we have things going on, we invite people. So that's the best way to do it. Out there, you can also find my email address. It's phil@uark. It's not hard. And so you can find me there too and email me. Because like my whole goal is to sit with as many people as possible, walk them through their journey, help them figure out what problem they want to solve and how they want to do it. And so the more we can do an outdoor rec to do that, the better off.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having
Thanks
me.
for
Thank
sharing
you,
the
Phil.
story.
That
It's
was-
been great.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Ecosystem builders, entrepreneurs, chambers of commerce, mayors. If you're interested in taking your economic future into your own hands, we've got a book that can help you. Creating Startup Junkies, Building Sustainable Venture Ecosystems in Unexpected Places is the guide. It's a little bit inspiration. It's a little bit toolkit. What it will allow you to do is take your economic future into your own hands and build a sustainable small business, innovation, and entrepreneurial ecosystem in your backyard. If you'd like to hear more, check out creatingstartupjunkies.com. The Startup Junkie podcast reaches over 100 countries and has had over 100,000 downloads. If you're interested in reaching some of the most motivated and engaged innovators and entrepreneurs on a worldwide basis, give us a shout.